Joe, what are you doing?
Nothing.
What's wrong?
I'm just depressed.
Why?
The government won't recognize my divine right of kings.
That sucks, man.
Yeah.
Well, I got some good news for you.
Yeah?
Aether's at 3.
My people need me to rule!
Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT, back again with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. As part of a continued attempt to capitalize on banlist type, explore the new metagame, we'll be taking a look at another one of the archetypes that received an itty-bitty buff from the most recent FNL. What makes this tribe different than the others is that it's had the most recent and far-reaching results, making them the most dangerous dudes with which to tinker. Presenting Domain Monarch. So here's the list, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it took every fiber of my being not to play Pot of Extravagance. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. So firstly, for those of you that don't know, Domain Monarch used to be the bane of BA and a weapon of choice for the proletariats of the pre-Master Rule 4 era. It was a $30 triple starter deck, the 3x Dino Smasher for you boomers, and 3x Soul Burner for you zoomers in the audience. Despite its propensity to draw poorly, it was exceptionally dominant at all levels of competitive play, and competed alongside its extra deck variant, Burning Abyss, Cosmo, and Pendulum in its respective format, eventually even winning the 2016 NAWCQ before feeling the swift rage of Konami's Banhammer in preparation for the soulless, capitalist cash grab that was Blue Eyes format. Since then, it, alongside its 2016 format friends, has been slowly claiming small victories. A Stormforth Unlimit here, an extra Aether there, until finally the deck is down to its last limit, a Pantheism of the Monarchs hit. Obviously, a very bricky deck lacking its draw spell doesn't look good on paper, but I've made a habit out of disregarding theory in favor of my own 8 games deep experience on YGO Pro, so why should this be any different? With 3 Aether, the deck is finally able to flex some of the power plays it had been lacking since the limits, including tributing opponents' monsters to summon Aether on their turn, followed by a Kuraz special summon for several pops. By maxing out on the playable squires and teching in several copies of Monarch-statted minions, we should be able to consistently conjure up a game plan even when faced with a more malicious metagame than Master Rule 3. So with that, let's get into the card by card. Firstly, the Mighty Monarchs! 3 Erebus and 3 Aether, and god does it feel good to say that again. After that are our technical Monarchs, Majesty's Fiend, who can be searched by return to shut off Salamangrates, and Kuraz, who can help us plus or pop opponents' cards. For Squires, we're on 3 Adia, 3 Adios, and 1 Mithra, a ratio any seasoned head of state will recall. We're also playing a new release, 2 Link Slayer. In a pinch, you can tribute summon him for a domain lock and a return search. He's a free special if you need monsters to tribute for a 6-star mega, and most importantly, he dumps Errant Prime to deal with the spells and traps that would give your precious potentates pause. For spells, we're on 3 Tenacity, the Searcher, 3 Stormforth, a descriptor all its own, 3 Domain, which locks your opponent's extra deck, 3 Return, which searches Monarchs and helps Ash block, and a suite of limited spells indicative of someone trying to play unfairly. Pantheism, 1-for-1, Reinforcement of the Army, Upstart, Foolish, and a voluntary March of the Monarchs. Finally, we've got 3 Called because, unfortunately, the deck can't play through a single hand trap. And 2 Prime. Our extra deck is empty! So there's $300 you don't have to spend. With that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is... you don't need to see this one, actually. As I was saying, our first match is up against Unchained, and we did not brick. Our opponent's opener is good, however it contains a number of cards that are more suited to the modern metagame. Dark Ruler No More, for example, isn't very powerful if none of our monsters have quick effects. We're going first. We're going to lead with a copy of Adia, fetching an Adios from deck. Afterwards, we're going to tribute summon a copy of Aether, special summoning an Erebus from deck. We'll pitch the Pantheism in hand alongside a Prime. Hey, sometimes you draw it. In order to get a copy of Tenacity to add a Domain to hand. We'll activate Domain, set a copy of Called by the Grave, and pass it back to our opponent. Our opponent's going to lead with an Aura, destroying their set copy of Chamber. They'll activate that and the Abominable in hand for a Pupper from deck. Things are looking quite bad. They'll use Abominable to destroy our Domain Lock and then link summon a Rage. They'll attack directly, and thankfully we aren't dead here, but we're getting close. We should be able to bring it back, provided that set card doesn't do a whole lot. We'll special back the Prime Monarch and draw a Stormforth. Wow, what a rip. They're going to Raiga immediately so they can make Unicorn and tuck back our set card. I'll chain Called by the Grave, though it doesn't do much here. They are still under Stormforth, we'll activate the Grave effect of Adios, but unfortunately they have a called for the Adia. Not a big deal, we have a Prime and Grave, so we can still tribute summon a copy of Erebus and shuffle our opponent's card. We'll attack into this copy of Nightmare Unicorn before passing it back to them. They draw a Kaiju for turn, thank goodness we didn't see that earlier. We'll Prime at end step and then draw. It's gotta be something good, Upstart Goblin, well, I'll risk it, and well, that's about as good as it gets. We're going to tribute summon a copy of Aether and special another Aether from deck for, is that exact lethal? Wow. That last game hinted at one of the major weaknesses of this strategy. While it's incredibly resilient, it routinely offers openings to decks that are able to deal with Domain. A deck more adept at OTKing, Hero for example, will punish you. We're going first against Hero, so let's see how we fare. We're going to lead with a Domain and a Return, normally an Adia to special summon an Adios from deck, which we will tribute for a Kuraz. We'll activate Kuraz's effect, and then chain the effect of Return to add a copy of Aether to hand. Let's see what we draw off of Kuraz, and ooh, a March and a Stormforth. We'll special summon a copy of Adia from Graveyard, telegraphing the Stormforth, but what are they going to do about it? Our opponent's going to lead with a copy of Vision Hero Ferris. They'll use Ferris's effect for Increase, then they'll use Increase to special itself, getting a Vion. We'll then activate the effect of our Stormforth as they add a copy of Stratos to hand. We can't lose all of our spells and traps. We're going to add back the Stormforth, and they'll normal summon the Stratos. This is going to pop our Domain, and suddenly we are a sitting duck. They'll link summon a copy of Crossguy, and then use Fusion Destiny for Dystopia, dealing 1600 to us off of a Celestial. They'll Foolish Burial a copy of Malicious, then special it. Afterwards, they'll use Crossguy to get a copy of Honesty Neos to hand, special a second Malicious to go into Dread Decimator, use Dystopia to pop our copy of March of the Monarch, and oh my goodness, Malicious Bane wipe the board. We can activate the Grave effect of Original Monarch, but our opponent's monster pierces. They'll deal all but 100 to us and deal more than enough with Bane. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Thunder Dragon. Theoretically, Domain should stop their entire game plan, but unfortunately they have a card that stops ours, Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Let's see if we can play through it. We're going to lead with a copy of Upstart Goblin. We draw off the top an Adia. What luck! We'll normal summon the Adia and pass our turn. Our opponent draws an Allure of Darkness. They'll activate Thunder Dragon's effect. They'll normal summon a copy of Lupine, then use Thunder Dragon to banish a copy of Dark from deck, getting a Roar. They'll Allure of Darkness, then activate Roar's effect from a Dark from deck, followed by an instant fusion for a oh come on, you didn't need to do that. They'll then link summon a copy of Wee Witch's Apprentice, and go into double Thunder Dragons. They'll attack directly for 19, 28, and we aren't yet dead until I see the Matrix in hand. Okay, game 2. So it's time for game 2, and oh my god, we've drawn a hand that doesn't lose to Ash Blossom. It doesn't happen often. Let's relish the chance. The first thing we're going to do is Tenacity. That's going to add a Domain to hand. Afterwards, we'll activate Upstart Goblin, to which our opponent responds with a Thunder Dragon Dark. Best to not have to hold A for the remainder of the turn. We'll activate Domain, then activate the effect of Mithra, giving our opponent a token. We're going to activate Return of the Monarchs, then tribute summon Aether. That'll trigger the effect of Return of the Monarchs and the effect of Mithra for an extra tribute summon, an Aether on our side of the field, and an Erebus in our hand. Afterwards, we'll activate the Prime Monarch's effect in 1-for-1, fine to lose to Ash at this point in the combo. We'll activate Adia and Adios' effect before activating Pantheism and discarding the card we get to put this Erebus back in our hand. We'll tribute summon the Erebus and shuffle one card from our opponent's hand back into the deck. I was hoping for an Allure of Darkness, but I'll take the normal summon as well. We'll pass it back to our opponent and wish them good luck. For turn, they draw a copy of Roar. That's pretty good luck. They'll banish the Roar to get a copy of Dark to their side of the field. They'll use another Allure of Darkness and then Dragon Dark to get a copy of Fusion. They'll normal summon a Solar to send a Solar, which is fodder for the Thunder Dragon duo. It's okay, but not great, because we have 2 cards that are tributed on our side of the field. We'll go for a third here, getting another Aether. We're going to special summon a copy of Kuraz, but we mess up the chain and it misses timing. Why does this card have a When effect? They're going to activate Duo's effect, which doesn't do a whole lot in a world where they're still under domain lock, and pass it back to us. From here, we should be able to pop off pretty well. We're going to special summon a copy of Adia from Graveyard, special summoning an Adios from our deck, before tribute summoning a copy of Erebus. Erebus, of course, does not target, nor does it destroy, so we are sitting pretty. Our opponent's going to increase the attack of their copy of Thunder Dragon Duo as high as possible. We're going to shuffle this set card because that's the one I'm the most afraid of. Duo is going to activate, we'll bring back this copy of Erebus, and then afterwards we're going to activate another Domain, a Tenacity, and a Prime Monarch. We will activate Domain's effect, then Stormforth, tributing the problematic card, and then shuffling one of their tokens back. We're doing some damage here. I think I potentially miss lethal, but oh, I just can't pass up the opportunity to continue tribute summoning. We'll pass it back to our opponent, and they'll draw for turn. It's a Thunder Dragon. That's unfortunate, because now they have a ton of cards in hand. They'll Allure of Darkness. They'll activate Dark's effect. Afterwards, they'll activate Hawk's effect to bring that Duo back, but it's not like it's going to be able to attack 4 times in one turn. They'll activate Duo's effect, attack into one of our several tribute summoned monsters, and then pass it back. We should be able to win pretty handily from here. We have a Kuraz in hand, by the way. We'll tribute summon it, activate its effect, and they will concede. So it's time for game 3, and 2 things are true about this deciding game. We're going second, and our opponent's opener is great. Let's see if we can survive. They're going to lead with a Thunder Dragon into Thunder Dragon, followed by a Lure, banishing a copy of Roar to get a copy of Dark from deck. They'll normal summon a copy of Solar, sending a Matrix, and activating Hawk to bring back Matrix, triggering Solar and allowing a Link summon of some Summer Boomer. After that, they're going to get a copy of Fusion, go to Colossus number 1, Colossus number 2, Fusion into Titan, and Colossus number 3. Okay, let's see what we can do. We draw Stormforth, which is critical to anything we're going to do. We'll lead with the Foolish Burial, then add this copy of Erebus back to hand. We'll activate 80's effect. They will Dark, we'll Stormforth, they'll Matrix, and we have exactly enough cards to prevent the Titan pop. Great news. We're going to special summon a copy of Adios, and they are under Stormforth. We'll tribute one of those two Colossi, and then shuffle the other one back with this Erebus. We'll activate Pantheism's effect for a domain. We'll activate Rhoda to get an Adia, and we'll go to battle phase. Shockingly, Titan doesn't have battle protection. Alright, things are looking pretty good. They're going to activate Fusion. They'll get a copy of Duo, which unfortunately does walk over our Tribute Summoned Monster. They're going to activate the effect of Hawk. They'll use Monster Reborn to bring back this copy of Dark. They'll normal summon a copy of Solar, and send a copy of Roar using Thunder Dragon's effect to proc the effect of Duo, and then attacking over our monster. Not great news, but could be worse. We aren't dead at the very least, and we are going to get to float a significant amount. In main phase 2, they're going to add back Fusion, go into Lambda, use Fusion to get Titan, and try to pop our cards. They'll use Thunder Dragon's effect, we'll use Prime Monarch, they will use another Thunder Dragon's effect, we'll use Erebus's effect, and while they finally can pop one card, now that Erebus is back in our hand, we can just shuffle that monster back, knowing that they elect to concede. So we're back with the deck, and God, I've missed playing Protect the King. Literally. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, it's strong. I mean, I've said this time and time again, but if you're not playing meta, you've got to be doing something unfair. And this deck does unfair stuff in spades. Hand looping, ED locking, tributing its opponent's monsters. There are very few boards it can't finagle through. 2, it's repeatable. One of the hallmarks of the decks of yesteryear is while they're still adept at board building, they can only really do it once. Not so with Monarch. Thanks to Triple Aether, you are never at a loss for heirs. And 3, it's cheap. If you're a new player looking for an entry point into the metagame, I cannot recommend this deck highly enough. The entire thing runs you about $30, and as you can see, it's got game against meta. And the cons. 1, it's not consistent. A little-known fact is that despite their name, the Monarchs are anarcho-primitivists. They're not a fan of paved roads, if you get what I'm trying to say. They're bricky. 2, they're fragile. They can't play very well through hand traps, and even hands with Called can easily lose to an impermanence on a Squire effect, the biggest choke point in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And 3, with the exception of the extremely cute Link Slayer, they haven't received anything. While most new decks have a bevy of new toys to play with, you're still playing cards printed before 2016. The world is changing, and it's hard for a Monarch to make it in the modern world. All in all, it's a neat deck with some application at the local level, but for anyone looking to beat hand traps, an additional mommy Monarch isn't going to be enough to persuade them. So that's that. While I appreciate all of my viewers, a special thanks to my patrons, especially Tyler Slacks, Crispy, Sir Tachyon, Mika Reichman, Distrin, Lucas Geardis, Adam Trevino, 2nd Lieutenant Labcoat, Fighting Fang Wong, Meatmoto27, Burrito Man 93, Adrian Bra, Adam Sunquist, Isaac Jackson, and Donnie Fillerup. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And if you want to be part of the process, follow me on Twitch as well. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.